Good afternoon, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for the first time ever on a Saturday afternoon here for our In the Spotlight 4-on-1 Football Blitz show for this week, our third and final show this week, a makeup show from yesterday. First of all, really quickly, briefly, I want to apologize for what happened yesterday. There was a technical issue that developed. It was always, as you all know, I had to quickly, kind of back away and I had to go. I put everything on mute and take the camera off, and then something else happened. There was an emergency at my home that had to be dealt with. Everything's okay, but it had to be dealt with promptly because it could have been dangerous if it wasn't dealt with. So I do apologize. I kind of had to leave everything at a standstill. To those of you that sat there looking at a blank screen for I don't know how long, I really truly apologize. That's something that I would never have to do, would never hope to have to do, but it's something I had to do. There was no co-host, so that's the downfall to these football shows. I'm the only one that does them, and I can't really throw it to anybody else and let them take over. So I do apologize to those and thank everybody for their patience and understanding with this. It was a crazy situation. Something that again, it just had to be handled. So I apologize profusely. I'm sorry that it took me so long to update you all on what happened. I didn't post an update to the late hours. I do apologize for that as well. But we are on the air here on a Saturday only because I really want to get this football stuff in. The bowl season is underway. It just got underway about 15, 20 minutes ago. So, I didn't want to, I just felt like we should do a makeup show and keep everything on track. And I've never, ever, ever, I've said I would never do a show on a weekend, but we have to. It's just the only way to do it because for football being on today and tomorrow, it's the only way we can do this and get everything in. We have to do what we have to do. So here's the deal, folks. I know it's a Saturday afternoon. I know we're probably not going to get a huge amount of you checking us out live here. It's probably going to be more of an archive kind of show. We're going to do something. We're going to be very quick. This might even be a half-hour show. It's just about getting what we have to get in, looking back at last week in the NFL, looking ahead to this week's games, and then doing a quick. And as you all know, with the bowl preview this year, we're not going to do like a comprehensive bowl preview. We're just going to, we're going to preview. Little by little, we're going to preview the games. So basically, all the games today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Wednesday's our next Football Blitz show. Those are the only games we're going to talk about and predict here today. We're not going to talk about every single bowl game here today. So we're just going to talk about those particular bowl games. And then a brief talk on the Heisman, and that's all we're going to really do today. So we're going to move incredibly fast. I'm not going to give you as much detail as I normally would. We just can't. We got to get this in, and I also know it's a Saturday, it's the weekend, and a lot of you are probably not just sitting around your computer or whatever. So I want to try to, for those that are checking us out live, I want to be fair to you all too. So we're going to do a very quick show here on this Saturday afternoon and then leave it at that and then go into more detail when we have our next Football Blitz show on Wednesday. So again, my apologies for yesterday, and let's just try to do the best show we can here today and let's make it happen. All right, so as always, as we start the show, if you'd like to interact or contribute to the show, have your voice heard, you can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 or hashtag itsfootballblitz. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. And once you find our fan page on Facebook, make sure that you like our page. All right, we're going to start as we always do with the NFL. You'll recall that yesterday, that's where the show kind of went belly up yesterday. So again, we're looking back at last week. We already talked about how the week started out last week with the big Kansas City win over Oakland, which obviously had big implications for the playoffs, sending Kansas City into the top of echelon of the AFC, sending Oakland all the way down to a 5 seed at 10-3, which is ridiculous. But so how good of a year it is as far as the AFC West. So that obviously caused a major shift. And that wasn't the only shift that you had last weekend in terms of the AFC. You had several other major shifts. And again, that's what you're going to get this time of year. It's about positioning. It's about putting yourself in position to not only make the playoffs, but if you're already firmly in the playoffs, it's about your positioning, your seeding, that kind of thing. So that's what this time of year is about. You got on these last few weeks. Not only are you weeding some of these teams out that have been kind of hanging on by a thread in the playoff hunt, but you're also it's about positioning. Now, again, we mentioned the Raiders and the Chiefs, which was a big win for the Chiefs. The AFC had a big shift as the Steelers had a big win over the Bills, which probably ends the Buffalo season. Really what it came down to is the fact that Buffalo couldn't stop Le'Veon Bell. They couldn't stop him. Bills did everything that they could do offensively, I thought, as far as what they have personnel-wise. Defensively, they did everything but stop Le'Veon Bell. And that was the difference. He scored 3 touchdowns, 236 yards. That sends the Pittsburgh Steelers to a 27-20 win and puts them at the top of the AFC North by virtue of the fact that the Ravens played the Patriots on Monday Night Football in a game between two classic rivals, a well-fought game. Both teams played extremely well. I thought the Ravens continued to improve on offense. They've been really, really good over these past few weeks. Offensively, I thought they still played a decent game against the Patriots. This wasn't enough. The Patriots are just tough to stop, and they showed that in this game. Blunt had a good game running the football. Hogan came up huge for the Patriots. Brady had a huge game, and that's really what it came down to. Even though the Ravens, gave you a typical Baltimore-like effort defensively, it still wasn't enough to contain Tom Brady. Brady still found ways to get the ball downfield. And it helped that Garrett Blunt moved the ball well. If they're going to run the ball well, then it's going to even things out for Brady. And that's ultimately what the key was. And the Patriots got it done 30-23. So the Patriots continue to sit atop of the AFC. This sent the Ravens to 7-6, while the Steelers with their win go to 8-5. Now the Steelers put themselves at the top, while the Ravens are now on the outside looking in. So that shows you how one loss at this point, in some cases, can really just drastically impact your chances, especially late as we head into the final 3 weeks here. So that was a huge shift in the power of the AFC because the Ravens have been out in front for the last few weeks. Another big shift in the AFC with the shocking Tennessee Titans knocking off the Denver Broncos 13-10. If you looked at this game, if you're the Colts and the Texans, obviously they had that big game essentially for first place. There's a 3-way tie in the AFC South. If you're the Colts and the Texans, you're thinking, well, the Titans are playing the Broncos. The Broncos know that they need to get a win. Otherwise, they're going to be in some precarious situation. You're figuring, oh, well, Tennessee's going to lose. And then whoever wins, you're figuring, if we win this game, hey, we're in good shape. We're out in front of two teams. Well, Tennessee did not cooperate here, as Tennessee kind of went back to their roots. They went back to the way they played not only last year, but earlier this season, running the football effectively with DeMarco Murray and playing really good defense and just grinding it out. In the last few weeks, Tennessee has opened a lot of eyes, including mine, by coming into their own on offense. Mariota playing well and just their offense clicking. Well, they didn't have their offense clicking this week. And against Denver, it's hard to get your offense clicking. We know about the pass rush. We know how good their defense is. And their defense played extremely well in this game, holding Tennessee to 13 points. Defense wasn't the issue for the Broncos. The issue for the Broncos was what it has been for the last few weeks. They can't score the football. Simeon, you look at Simeon's numbers. He's had a touchdown, 334 yards. Yeah, you see a guy that's getting the ball, passing the ball okay, but they're not getting the ball in the end zone. They're not scoring points. And that's really where Denver is right now. And that's and Tennessee shut them down, continued that trend, and got a huge win at home against the Denver Broncos, which continued to keep them in a tie for first place. So that's a huge shift. And on the Denver side, another huge shift. Denver, who a few weeks ago we thought, hey, AFC West, 3 teams in, Denver, Oakland, Kansas City. Denver falls 2 games behind both Kansas City and Oakland, and now finds themselves in a position where the field, all these teams, the Steelers, the Ravens, the AFC South team, all these teams have caught up to them. They're all within range of Denver. It is no longer an easy situation for Denver here. It's no longer even a certainty or even close to a certainty that Denver makes it, because they play a tough schedule, and right now they're sitting at 8-5. So that was a huge development in terms of the AFC playoff race. Huge development. And on the other side, you have the Dolphins, who played an Arizona Cardinals team. This one also affects the NFC, obviously. Miami went into this game needing a win here against a quality Arizona team who in the last few weeks has improved and started playing well on both sides of the football. Well, in this game, Miami gets a hard-fought, close 26-23 win at home, where they are 6-1. Defensively, they got the job done. Offensively, they made plays when they have to. This is a devastating loss for Arizona, who on the NFC side of things is mathematically still alive. But at the same time, 5-7-1, you got that tie in there. Puts them really as a long shot. You're really one more loss away from complete elimination. From Miami, for Miami, this puts them back in the race here. I think last week I think they took a hit, and this week, in light of what's happened with Denver, that they're right there. They're at 8-5. They're in very good shape here, except for the fact they lost their quarterback Tannehill, who's done for the year. Now, does that put them at a disadvantage? Yes, but they also play a softer schedule, so that if they can grind out and they have a defense that can their defense can get them maybe 1 or 2 more wins, then they could make it. If they get to 10 wins, that's probably going to do it. So, it should do it. Who knows the way things are playing out. But it's a huge win for Miami on the NFC side of things. A devastating loss for Arizona that really puts them at 1 loss away from complete elimination. So, on the AFC side of things have just a lot of shifts. Now, I know Cincinnati won this week, but that really doesn't matter. They only have 5-7-1 with 3 weeks to go. I just don't see it. So I don't think you really worry about Cincinnati. Again, I still think they are out of it. I mentioned the Texans and the Colts. Look, this Colts lost this game. We all know that, all right? Does that eliminate them? No. Could they still make it? Yes. If they're going to make it, they're going to go through the division. Texans and Titans are still 1 up on them. And if they tie the Titans, they won the season series, blah, blah, blah. I understand all that. But here's the thing that scares you about Indianapolis. Now, not like Cincinnati where, Cincinnati's had these great regular seasons and laid an egg in the playoffs, and psychologically we think it's finally made them kind of collapse. It's not the same thing. What's happened to the Colts is this. All right, last year the thing was they had too many injuries, particularly to Andrew Luck. Okay, we get that. All right, they were in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. Okay, last year you had the injuries. This year, you start off inconsistent. What's your excuse? Yeah, I know Luck's been banged up. Yeah, they have something going on, but every team has that. What's the excuse? I think what we're seeing here is this, and we've talked about this on the show before. It comes down to this. Coaching isn't. I love Chuck Pagano. I think he's a great guy. I don't think he's right for this team. I think this whole environment needs to be cleaned out, from the general manager to the head coach to the staff. I think some of these players have to go. Now they're starting to blame each other. Now they're starting to throw shade at each other, throwing each other under the bus. Look, the bottom line is this. The Colts didn't show up. And they haven't shown up in big games since 2 years ago. Defensively, they can't get the job done. They can't grind out games. They can't make plays. Offensively, they can't make plays unless Andrew Luck makes a Hurricane effort, and even then, their offensive line is terrible. They're just not. They're not. You got the franchise quarterback, but you didn't build around him effectively. And he's being let down by the line. He's being let down by the receivers. He's being let down by the coaching staff. The only guy on this team that I think they got right is Frank Gore. I think Frank Gore can give you a lot, but I don't think they're coaching him up right either. I don't think the play calling is abysmal. The whole thing is just abysmal, and you're seeing this time and time again. This game should have been won by the Colts. They had this game, much like they had Houston 2 months ago in Houston. So while mathematically the Colts are not done, psychologically, I just don't see it, because I don't think they believe they're good enough anymore. I think they bought into the coaches for a while, but I think the coaches and staff has lost this team. You can tell by the way they're blaming each other. They're falling apart in the locker room. You can tell whenever you see that happen, when it goes public and team guys start throwing each other under the bus and everything, the whole thing blows up. That's when you lose the team. And I think they've lost the team. They need to make changes. I hate to say it, but they do. And for them, even though mathematically they're still alive, I just don't see them in crunch time finding a way to get it done. So this thing to me is probably going to come down to Houston and Tennessee. Honestly, I think Tennessee might be the better team. I think they have more offensive potential. I think defensively they're better. I think Tennessee might be the better team. We'll see. Obviously, a huge win for Houston. Obviously, a huge win for Tennessee, and for the AFC, a lot of major shifts. Now, there were some major shifts in the NFC. We already mentioned that Arizona lost, which was devastating to their chances. Panthers won, but that doesn't really factor anything. They're out of it at this point. Lions got a win that they needed to have against the team that they should beat. That solidifies them. I think the Lions at this point are probably in good shape here as far as making the playoffs at 9-4. Vikings got a big win, again, over a team that they should beat, 25-16 over Jacksonville. So that's helpful to them to keep their chance alive. And plus, they're apparently going to get Adrian Peterson back. So that's a big boon for them. So all of a sudden, you got to look at the Vikings here and see what's going to happen there. The Falcons beat a team and that they should beat in the Rams. So that's huge for them, putting them at 8-5. Let's talk about the three big games on the NFC side of things. First of all, the Buccaneers and the Saints. I mentioned going into the weekend, if you're Tampa, make it count. You beat Seattle. Don't lose this game against the Saints. You made a thing, even when you were a bad team, out of beating teams in your division, even if they were much better than you. At this point, you're playing better than the Saints are. You've been more consistent than the Saints are, particularly on defense. It was a grinded out kind of game. That's the way they had to play it. Defensively, it was a good game. Offensively, one of their worst games in a few weeks. But the Buccaneers got it done with a 16-11 win over the Saints, which probably eliminates the Saints at 5-8. Actually, it does probably eliminate the Saints at 5-8. So we'll see what happens to the Saints in the offseason. For Tampa, a huge win that keeps them as that second wild card at 8-5. Now they can look at this and go, if they can win 2 of their next 3, I think that's enough to get them in. So they're in good. They put themselves in good shape here down the stretch here. So huge win for Tampa in this game, and they're still and forget about the wild card. They're tied with the Falcons at the top of the NFC South, so they could still take the division too. So huge for them. And the Packers, who we all kind of left for dead a few weeks ago. We looked at their schedule, like, okay, even if they win these games, well, they got a tough schedule. They got Seattle. Well, they put up a huge performance at home against Seattle, 38-10. Finally, Green Bay looks like the Green Bay of a few years ago on offense. Aaron Rodgers, 3 touchdowns, 246 yards. A great game out of Devontae Adams. They got it done on both sides of the football. Even though offensively was where they were more impressive, but defensively they held Seattle to 10 points. It was a devastating loss for Seattle, even though they have clinched the NFC West. For them, this is a psychological bruise because what it shows you is, again, some of these teams that offensively can move the ball well, their defense isn't performing pretty well. I mean, they've lost 4 games and they got a tie. Defensively, they're not playing up to par in some of these games. Obviously, offensively, sometimes they have struggled, even when they were at their best. Even when they won the Super Bowl that year, they were offensively, sometimes it was a struggle. So you don't really look at that. But defensively, they have had some trouble with some of the more elite level teams. And you remember they lost to Tampa a few weeks ago too. So they've struggled. So, you got to keep an eye on that. As hot as Seattle was at one point, they've proven to be vulnerable. This is not the Seattle team of a few years ago. So a huge win for the Packers. Now, they're still on the outside looking in at 7-6, but they've kept themselves alive. While Seattle, even though they lost, has clinched the NFC West. And then, of course, the game that everybody was looking at, the Giants and the Cowboys. After Giants had a poor performance last week where we all questioned whether they can beat any good teams. And, if they're going to get in this, if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to figure out a way offensively to play against good teams. Well, they didn't figure out anything on offense. They looked just as bad as they did last week. EY was only 17 for 28, 193 yards in the TD. But here's the key. Beckham Jr. had 94 yards, so they got a better game out of him because EY seems to think he's the only receiver on the field. But that really ultimately, even though Odell Beckham Jr. having a good game is a key factor here, that wasn't the key factor. The biggest key factor was the Giant defense, which this is completely one of the best defensive efforts of the season. Shut down the Cowboys, giving the Giants a 10-7 win. You held the Cowboys to 1 touchdown. Giants did nothing on offense, but they didn't have to. Their defense was that good. It was the best defensive effort of the season, and the Cowboys are denied their revenge. Now, the only 2 losses the Dallas Cowboys have are to the New York Giants, and what this win does for the Giants is this. It makes up for what happened last week. Doesn't really prove a whole lot in terms of whether you can beat some of the more elite level teams. I know you just beat Dallas, but all you've proven is that your defense matches up very well with Dallas. That's all it's really done. That's all we've really proven. You haven't beaten anybody else. So that's still something that you have to look at. But for the Giants, this is probably what gets them into the playoffs. Because realistically, if they win 2 out of the next 3, they're in. If they win 1, they're probably still in. So this locks, this in my mind puts them into the playoffs. This was a huge win for them. For the Dallas Cowboys, look, you tip your hat and say, you know what, you shut us down, big whoop. I know people are going crazy like, well, what happens if they match up with the Giants in the playoffs? The Giants can't beat the Cowboys. Can't beat them. The Cowboys can beat them. All right, it's very hard to beat a team 3 times, and I don't think. Look, you remember the first game? Giants defense was good, but it wasn't this good. Okay, it wasn't this good. So you know what? I wouldn't worry too much about that at this point. All right, the defense in the first game, Cowboys only lost by 1 point in that game. Only lost by 3 points this game. It's not that much of a difference, so I wouldn't freak out about that. But a big win for the Giants and Cowboys. Look, you tip your hat, you move on. You clinch the NFC. You're going to win the NFC East. You're going to clinch the 1 seed. You move on. Just hope you get through the rest of the year healthy at this point. So lots of shifts on both sides of the dime here. In the NFC and the AFC as you go into Week 15, which got underway on Thursday night with a game that, realistically didn't matter between the Rams and the Seahawks. Seahawks got back on track with a dominant 24-3 win again. Didn't really matter. Rams are out of it. For Seattle, it's just a win. Obviously, the Rams let go of Jeff Fisher. All I'm going to say about that is this. He got a raw deal. The whole thing was mismanaged. They never gave, draft-wise, roster-wise, the whole thing was a mess. Moving to LA, he had to shepherd them through all that. There were times last year the Rams looked like they were a team that was on the rise, much like Tampa was, Oakland was. They beat a lot of good teams, and then something just, early this season, they didn't look too bad, and it just fell off the map. So, you know what? I think he got let down. He didn't do as good of a job as he should have, but at the same time, I think he got let down too. So I don't know if it was a good firing, but I also think Jeff Fisher can get a better job than that. So it's unfortunate, but what are you going to do? But Seattle, it's the big win, the easy win, as it should have been for them on Thursday night. And now tonight, you have a Saturday game, which you're going to have for the next few weeks, between the 8-5 Dolphins, 2-4 on the road, and the 4-9 Jets, 1-5 at home. It's 8:25 Eastern game on NFL Network at MetLife Stadium again. Dolphins need to win this. They should win this. They got to beat the teams you should beat. I know they don't have Tannehill, but still, this is a game that you should win. You want your defense. The Jets are a lame duck team right now. Yeah, they're going to give you an effort. Yeah, we know they're going to play good on defense, but this is the game that you should win, and I think they will win here tonight. And that will get them to 9-5. So that a game that shouldn't be that good tonight, but still a game that matters in terms of the Dolphins. Now, honestly, you look at the rest of the games tomorrow. There's not a whole lot of good games, but there's games that feature teams that have to get things done. First game, 1 o'clock from Eastern on Fox from Soldier Field, Chicago, Illinois. 7-6 Packers, 2-4 on the road. The 3-10 Bears, 3-3 home. Again, Packers are better than the Bears. If you're going to make a push, you got to beat the teams you should beat. Packers need to win this game. I think they will win this game. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS from NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. 2-11 Jaguars, 1-5 on the road. 7-6 Texans, 5-1 at home. Again, making a push, trying to solidify your spot. Got to beat the teams you should beat. Texans have got to beat the Jaguars. All right, and the Jaguars are going to just be like the Jets are. They play good defense. They're going to give you an effort. You know you're going to get a good effort out of them. This is a team that early in the season was one of the more improved teams. They're going to give you an effort. This is not going to be easy. Houston's done great at home this year. They got to get this win. Got to get this win. I think they will, but I think it'll be close. Jacksonville always keeps things close. That's kind of their thing. It's they remind me of Tampa Bay in that regard, even when they're bad. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS from New Era Field in Buffalo, New York. 0-13 Browns, 0-6 on the road, 6-7 Bills, 3-3 at home. I think the Bills are done. They're going to win this game. No chance the Browns win. Bills are going to win this game. They're going to be 7-7. They need a lot of help. I think they're done. But you know what? If you want to keep your very, very, very slim hopes alive, you got to win. I think they will. But again, I think they're done anyway. So 1 o'clock from Eastern game from Baltimore, Maryland, M&T Bank Stadium. 5-8 Eagles, 1-6 on the road, 7-6 Ravens, 5-2 at home. Eagles are done. I didn't mention them in my recap from last week, but that was because it was unimportant. They're done. But still, they can play spoiler here and they can improve. They're a young team. Baltimore needs this win. I mean, now, is this a case of in Baltimore's case where, you're trying to make a push, you got to beat the team you should beat? Technically, you're going to look at these records where Baltimore should beat the Eagles, right? Well, the Eagles are a good football team. They just had some tough luck. This is the same team that blew out the Steelers early in the year. So you can't take them lightly if you're the Ravens. They're going to put up a good game, and the Eagles could very easily win this game. In fact, in some ways, I think they might win this game because I think Baltimore, they matched up well with Baltimore. I mean, defensively, Baltimore's going to give them a game. They're going to keep it a little bit more low scoring. But I think the Eagles defensively can do some good things to Baltimore. So I think this is going to be a very close game. I'm going to pick Baltimore to win it because I know how big this game is. But the Eagles are going to keep this close. They could easily win this game. This is not a case. This is not like Browns versus Bills or Texans Jaguars or anything like that. This is a game between two good teams. Even though the Eagles are 5-8, I'm going with the Ravens in a close one. But this game this matches up pretty well for the Eagles too, in my mind, based on the personnel. So we'll see. But I'm picking the Ravens in a close one. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. The 7-6 Titans, 3-3 on the road, 10-3 Chiefs, 5-1 at home. Chiefs want to win to stay atop of the AFC West and solidify their spot. Titans want to win to keep up the pace in the AFC South. This is a huge game because if the Titans lose this game, then the Texans can be in first place on their own. And the Colts might say, oh, we lose the Titans, they drop, and then we don't have to worry about the Texans. Every game matters here. Obviously, it's just late in the season. So this is a big game. Defensively, this is going to be a clinic. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. Both these defenses have been playing really, really well. Offensively, some of these teams have been up and down a little bit. Kansas City is more of the fundamental, cautious kind of team. Tennessee has been kind of up and down. It's trying week to week, they kind of try to find their rhythm. If Tennessee can get into their offense like they did have done really for the most part, except for last week over the last couple of weeks, or last month, I should say, then Tennessee could win this game, even on the road. Playing Kansas City and Arrowhead is such a tough thing. Kansas City's been on such a run. Their defense has been so good. I'm going to go with Kansas City here, even though Tennessee, I think, is going to make a hell of a game out of this. And it should be a close, low-scoring one. But I'm going with Kansas City because I do think they've been the more consistent team, and I think that they can find more ways to get things done offensively. They don't – Tennessee, you just don't know what you're going to get offensively sometimes. So I'm going to go with Kansas City. 1 o'clock Eastern game on Fox from MetLife Stadium. East Rutherford, New Jersey, 9-4 Lions, 3-3 on the road, 9-4 Giants, 6-1 at home. Big game for both teams. Lions looking to salt away the division and a playoff spot. Giants looking to salt away a playoff spot and keep themselves maybe in the race for the NFC East, even though that's a long shot. Big game here. Giants had a big game last week. They pulled it out. Big game this week. If they can put on a defensive effort like they did against Dallas last week, they're going to win this game. Point blank, they're going to win this game. I mean, Detroit struggled on the road. I kind of think Detroit's due a loss. They've come out of a lot of games that they probably should have lost. Coming out like a loss, and that's not a knock on Detroit. I think they played really well. I think they've improved a lot since the beginning of the year. I do buy Detroit. I think they can do some things in the playoffs. But the last few weeks, there have been some games that have gotten some luck. So, if you combine that, if they play a little bit like they played in recent times, and if the Giants put on a defensive effort like they did last week, I like the Giants here, and I am going to pick the Giants here because I think, again, you combine the two things. You combine the fact that Detroit's kind of gotten lucky in the last few weeks. They haven't played particularly well. Offensively, they've gotten a lot of lucky breaks. Defensively, they've gotten away with a lot as well. The Giants, I think, are on a defensive high right now. If they carry what they did last week into this week, I think the Giants win this game. And that's what I think they'll do. I think the Giants make a defensive game, and I think that gets the Giants to win here. 1 o'clock Eastern game on CBS from US Bank Stadium, Minneapolis, Minnesota. 6-7 Colts, 3-3 on the road at the 7-6 Vikings, 4-2 at home. Minnesota might be getting Adrian Peterson back. If they get Adrian Peterson back, this is going to be a tough game for the Colts. I know how the Vikings have been, especially since their bye. They've struggled offensively, but Adrian Peterson's a game changer. Even his first week back, he is a game changer. If he runs the ball effectively, it makes the Vikings that much better. They can move the ball. They might even be able to make some plays downfield, throwing the ball. The Colts defense, we've already talked about, has not been good. Vikings defense has been good all year. They're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to get to Andrew Luck. They're going to cause problems downfield. So they're going to make this a more low-scoring game, which does not favor the Colts here, especially if Peterson's back. I'm going to take the Vikings here. And I think the only reason why this game is close is because the Vikings will make it a close, kind of gritty game. Otherwise, I don't think it would be if the Vikings had a quarterback that could really get the ball downfield. I'm going with the Vikings in a close one in this game. 1 o'clock Eastern game on CBS from Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. 8-5 Steelers, 4-3 on the road. 5-7-1 Bengals, 3-2-1 at home. Bengals want to play spoiler here. They know that their chances. I mean, look, mathematically, you're going to look at and go, they might still have a chance. No, they don't. Okay, they don't. This will be their official elimination because I think Steelers are going to win. I think the Steelers, they're at the top of the AFC North. They know it's close it out time. Even if they don't win the AFC North, I think they see too. They can still get a wild card. This is close it out time, and Pittsburgh does very well in these kind of situations. And this year they haven't had too much of an issue with Cincinnati anyway. So, again, we talked about Cincinnati and their mental state and how they played. And so, I don't think it'll be a blowout game, but I think it'll be a substantial win for the Steelers, who I think are playing much better football right now and more consistent football right now. So I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. Now we go to the 4 o'clock window games. 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox. University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. The 5-8 Saints 2-4 on the road. 5-7-1 Cardinals 4-2-1 at home. Saints are done. The Cardinals are 1 loss away from being done. So it's a game between 2 teams. You're out of it or on the verge of being out of it. I like Arizona here only because Arizona's playing better. The last couple weeks, they played better. They even played better last week in the loss. They're moving the ball well offensively. Defensively, they're cutting down the passing lanes. They're doing a better job defensively. The Saints are going to present a challenge. Obviously, they're going to play. I mean, even though they play worse on the road, they're in an environment where they're going to they play decent in. So it'll probably be a more high-scoring affair, and it won't be a blowout win by any means. But I like Arizona here because I just think they've been playing better. And obviously, they can do more defensively than the Saints can. 4:05 p.m. Eastern game on Fox from the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, Georgia. 1-12 49ers, 0-6 on the road, 8-5 Falcons, 3-3 at home. We mentioned this earlier. Again, beat the teams you should beat. If you're Atlanta, this is a team you should beat, and they will beat them. Atlanta's been dominant offensively, even against a defense like the 49ers. I think they'll be able to get the job done. Falcons all the way in this game. 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on CBS from Denver, Colorado. You have the 11-2 Patriots, 6-0 on the road, 8-5 Broncos, 4-2 at home. This might be Denver's season because, again, this is where the schedule comes by. It's kind of like the Giants last week. They lost that game, and then they played the Cowboys. They win that game, and that kind of makes up the difference. You should have won that game against Tennessee last week. Make up the difference here. Beat New England, and you probably up your chances substantially because you'll be back at 9-5, and you keep yourself in front of the pack here a little bit. So beat New England, and you're back in decent position now. New England hasn't lost a game on the road. They lost their games at home, which is shocking. Denver has played New England very well, just like the Ravens have, although the Ravens lost last week to New England. If Denver's defense does its job, they will have this game in play for themselves. It's all a matter of what they do offensively. New England's not a great defensive team. They're a good enough defensive, but they're not great. If Denver can score the ball on New England, if they can get to 20 points on New England, over 20 points on New England, they're going to win this game because they're going to keep the score low. They're going to contain Brady. They're going to be rushing Brady, knocking down Brady on every play, hurrying Brady on every play. If they do that, and they can score the ball and get into the 20s, even the low 20s, I like Denver to win this game, and I am going to pick Denver to win this game. And this would be a huge game if Denver wins it for what it does to the AFC seeding. But I like Denver to win this game because I think they see their backs are against the wall. I think they know that I think they know it's their season. They're at home, and that makes a huge difference. I'm going with Denver here in what should be a very close, great game. Probably one of the better games of the season. And I don't know why a couple weeks ago I said that I didn't think New England could lose any more games because New England had a couple chances. They had Ravens last week. They had Broncos this week. New England could very well lose. New England could have very well lost more games. So 4:25 p.m. game on CBS from Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego, California. 10-3 Raiders, 5-1 on the road, 5-8 Chargers, 3-3 at home. You know San Diego will give you a game. They've always been very good at playing spoilers, so you got to be careful here if you're Oakland. It's a game you have to have. Keep yourselves in play here and keep solidifying your position here. It's a game you have to have. I think they will have it. Oakland's played very well on the road. Very, very well. They played San Diego good the last time, too. So I like Oakland here. I just think Oakland's the better team. Offensively and defensively. Offensively, they've really come into their own over the course of the season. Defensively, we all know they've always been good. Oakland's a better team. I think they'll make the difference. But San Diego's going to keep it close because they relish playing in these kind of positions. 8:30 p.m. Eastern game at NBC, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. For the second straight week, the Cowboys are going to be playing on Sunday Night Football. 8-5 Buccaneers, 5-1 on the road, 11-2 Cowboys, 5-1 at home. Cowboys looking to clinch the NFC East and a 1 seed, coming off a loss to the Giants. Tampa looking to shock the world and continue the Cinderella run, which has seen them beat Seattle and New Orleans. And look, if you're Tampa, boy, if you ever could pull off this win, that not only would probably get you into the playoffs and solidify you, but boy, that would wake the whole world up to Tampa Bay. Unfortunately, I think Tampa's run ends here. That's why the last few weeks have been so huge for them because they needed them, facing the fact they'll be facing Dallas here. I think Tampa will give a valiant effort, but I think Dallas, especially coming off the loss, is going to be very, very good. In fact, I think they're going to substantially win this game. I think they're going to look to close everything out here. I expect a very good game from Dallas. They're just so far and away better. I just don't, even at Tampa's best, I don't know if they can compete here. So I like Dallas to win this game. And then Monday night, a game that matters for one team and not so much for the other. 8:30 p.m. Eastern game at ESPN for FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. 5-8 Panthers, 1-5 on the road, 7-5-1 Redskins, 4-2 at home. Redskins have to win to keep their chances alive. Simple as that. And I think they will win. Carolina is a lame duck team right now. Yeah, they'll give you a game for a little bit, but they're an easy team to kind of break at this point. So I think the Redskins will break them. I think they'll give them problems downfield with Cousins. Defensively, they'll play a very good game. I like Washington to win this game. I think Washington's. I think this year, clearly, Washington's the better team. Carolina's banged up. And plus, they need it more at this point. And Carolina looks like a head case right now. They've been a head case all season. So I like Washington here to win this game. All right, so that's your NFL story. And we'll see how it all turns out over the course of tonight and tomorrow. Now we jump to college football. And really quickly, I just want to, before we get to the bowl picks, I want to really quickly talk about the Heisman, which I'm very happy with this year because I thought, one of the things you hear about the Heisman is, people sometimes think it's more of a power of a political thing, and sometimes it's money involved. I mean, okay, there's a lot of that going around, but here's the thing about you give it to Lamar Jackson of Louisville, who I thought was a good choice. Okay, he had an incredible year. Nobody saw him coming. It was like a Cinderella story. And I think that's cool. You don't see that too often. Usually you got 4 or 5 players, you come into the season, people are talking about them and everybody's going crazy about them and everything. And, that's usually all you get, and it's usually one of those 5 that gets it. This year, Lamar Jackson was on nobody's radar. Nobody, despite and then to have losses and foul 2 games and still win, it tells you how good of a season he had. It was one of the greatest seasons ever, I believe, if not the greatest season. He won the award over Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Deed Westbrook, and Jabril Peppers. It was, and he's the youngest. He's the youngest player to win the Heisman. And you don't usually see young players get it. Sophomores don't get this usually. It usually doesn't happen. So I'm very pleased that his age didn't hurt him here, and the fact he lost those final 2 games didn't hurt him here. I'm very happy about that because I think he was the right choice. I think he was a good choice. He had a remarkable season, probably the best at Louisville, like I said. So I'm very happy about that. And I like I said, sometimes politics plays a role and money plays a role and all that stuff, whether they say so or not. But in this case, I think they made the right decision. And I'm glad that it wasn't somebody from the beginning of the year, because sometimes it really is. You have so many players and they get lost. And the focus just goes on the same 4 or 5 players that people named way back in August. And that didn't happen here. It was somebody that came out of nowhere and took college football by storm. So very happy. I think that was the right choice. Now to the bowls. Really quickly, so we can get off the air within the next 5 minutes here. We have a few bowls to pick, including a bowl game that's underway right now, as Capital Bowl Mania has gotten underway here today. First with the New Mexico Bowl, the 11th annual New Mexico Bowl. We're not going to keep track of our picks. We're just predicting, just for the sake of predicting here. So just go with us on that. So here we go. First games today underway right now. I know we're in the middle of a game, so it's kind of stupid to make picks, but we're going to do it anyway. Ha, 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 ha. Just deal with it. As soon as I get this up, I'm going to... New Mexico versus San Antonio in the New Mexico Bowl here. Hang on a second. Just trying to pull up the schedule here so I know what I'm looking at. All right, here we go. Ever pulls up here. All right, so we have... all right, well, we had a game that started earlier. The first bowl game was actually between North Carolina Central and Grambling and Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl at 12 p.m. on EA ABC, George Dome, Atlanta. I haven't seen the score yet, so I can pick this game. I'm not even going to look at the score yet. I like NCC in this game. Number one, because of the 2 teams, the only team I've seen. And number 2, when when you look at these games, these one game, essentially they're like 1-game playoffs, these bowl games. You look for guys that have teams that have more playmakers, and they just flat out have more playmakers. When they have more playmakers, I think you favor those teams. All right, so that's the first one. So North Carolina Central, I'm picking in that game. Golden New Mexico Bowl, New Mexico versus University of Texas San Antonio, 2 p.m. ESPN, University Stadium, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I like New Mexico in this game. I like their offense. I like their ability to get down the field. If UTSA makes it more of a defensive game, then I think they can have. I think they'll be in good shape. But I like New Mexico. I think they're the better team here. Las Vegas Bowl presented by Geico. Houston versus San Diego State, 3:30 p.m. Eastern today on ABC from Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas. I like Houston here. Houston has done a lot this year. I know they kind of fell off at the end. I think they're a flat-out better team. They got playmakers on both sides of the football. I think they're going to have a lot of San Diego State's going to have a lot of matchup issues in this game. Houston all the way for me. I hate to be general, but I'm trying to be quick. We'll be more detailed as we get further into some of these bigger bowl games. No disrespect to these teams, but you know, these are the games that people watch at their home. It's not. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just the truth. Raycom Media, Calmaria Bowl, Appalachian State versus Toledo, 5:30 p.m. Eastern from the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. I like Toledo in this game. You know, one of the things that when you play these bowl games, especially since you've been maybe haven't been playing in about a month, offensively, sometimes you can have problems. You can have some rust. It's easier to get back on track defensively after a long layoff. Toledo's got a better offense, so I think when you have if you have a good offense, I think that can help you overcome the rust quicker. So that's why I'm going to go with Toledo here because they have the better offense. Auto Nation Curbo, UCF versus Arkansas State, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, CBS Sports Network, Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida. UCF all the way. They're the flat-out better team. They've had better competition. I like UCF. Simple as that. R+L, Carriers, New Orleans, both. Southern Mississippi versus Louisiana, Lafayette, 9 p.m. Eastern. Mercedes-Benz Superdome, New Orleans. Tough game. I think this is an even matchup here. I will go with Southern Mississippi. I like the quarterback. And I think, again, playmakers make a difference, especially at the quarterback position. If you have a guy that's dynamic at the quarterback, can get the ball downfield, move the ball, is pretty efficient. I just think the quarterback matchup favors them. I'm going to go with Southern Mississippi. All right, now we jump to December 19th. There'll be no bowl games tomorrow. Miami Beach Bowl, Central Michigan versus Tulsa, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, Marlins Park, Miami. I like Central Michigan. I've liked Central Michigan all year. I thought they were kind of like a sweeper team. I thought they'd do a little bit better. Defensively, I like what they do. I think they're a good, grinded out, hard-nosed football team, and I think that doesn't bode well for a Tulsa team that probably wants to be a little more wide open and doesn't really want to play that kind of low-scoring, grind-it kind of style. So Central Michigan for me. December 20th, Boca Raton Bowl, Memphis versus Western Kentucky, 7 p.m. Eastern. 7 p.m. Eastern, FAU Stadium, Boca Raton, Florida. This is a tough one for me because I like the players on both sides here. Memphis and Western Kentucky. I think this could be one of the more underrated matchups. I don't have a reason for this one. I don't. I've seen both teams play enough. I'm going with Western Kentucky just on a gut. I honestly don't. I think both these teams match up well. I really do. So I'm going with Western Kentucky just on an instinct. Simple as that. All right, and then one more game we're going to pick. This takes us right up to Wednesday. San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, which is always a cool game. BYU versus Wyoming, 9 p.m. ESPN Qualcomm Stadium, San Diego. Again, another good matchup. I think this one, even though I think these teams match up okay together, I like BYU here. I like BYU here. I think that they run the ball effectively, make it more into a possession kind of game, and kind of keep the defense on their toes. I think BYU can win. I'm going to pick BYU in this game. All right, so that takes us up to the bowl in regards to the bowl games to Wednesday, which is our next football blitz show. So when we have our next football blitz show on Wednesday, we'll do all the games between Wednesday and next time we're going to have a football blitz show. That's the way we're going to do this because then it keeps it a little bit more organized, and then we can and the further along we go, and we're not pressed for time, we'll go into more detail and all that kind of stuff on these games. So I just wanted to get it in here today. So again, I hate to be rushed, but we want to get this in. It's a Saturday. I know you all have other things to do, and I know those that will be listening to this or watching this in archive later won't want to give up too much of their time either. So with that being said, we're going to wind down. I know it was rushed, but Gotta do what we gotta do. So as always, the show might be yours. Does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Give us your feedback, reactions, comments, or opinions on things we said on the show, things we talked about on the show, ideas, general feedback. We really want your feedback, so please submit it. Ideas or breaking news items or topics you want us to cover from sports, entertainment, or wrestling. Any of these things you do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS411 Football Blitz or ITS Football Blitz, whatever you want to do. You can also find us on Facebook. To search In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our fan page when you find it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about the show. Look what happened yesterday with all the problems. Sometimes the only way we can get you all updates about the show is through social media, so make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We also post random things on there as well, so make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to make sure that you get the latest information about the show, along with other things. If you'd like to keep up with our show and catch up on past episodes, you have two ways in which to do that. If you prefer for streaming, maybe you're only interested in more recent episodes of our show, then you might want to look for us on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411. You'll have access to all of our episodes from October 2015 all the way to today's episode. They'll all be available for you to stream anytime you wish. So make sure that you do that. If you're interested in Google Plus and YouTube, just search for In the Spotlight 411 and you'll have access to those episodes. If you're more of a fan of listening to us, not seeing us on screen, maybe you want to listen to us on the go. You prefer audio podcasting, and also, of course, if you're interested in older episodes of our show, if any of that applies to you, then search for us on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. And you'll have access to every show we've ever done, the 6 years we've been doing the show, everything from October 2010 all the way to today's episodes. All episodes are in order from most recent to the oldest. They're all available for you to listen to whenever you like. So maybe you're a longtime fan and want to look back at shows from maybe 3-4 years ago, or a new fan and never listened to or watched episodes from 3-4 years ago and you want to check them out, or maybe just want to catch up on recent episodes, whatever the case may be, or just plain old, you just want to listen to shows instead of stream them. If any of that applies to you, you might want to look us up on Podbean and iTunes to search for In the Spotlight 411. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, all ways to keep up with our show. Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, all ways to keep up with our show and look back at classic episodes. To search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411 on all those sites. I want to thank myself for a great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that watch live this afternoon, to those that will watch or listen to this in archive later, thank you to you as well. Again, apologies for what happened yesterday. Thank you for your patience and understanding with the whole mess. I'm glad we could do this today, even though it was short and very, very rushed, but I think we did okay. The schedule for this week, Tuesday, our only primetime show of this week, our Tuesday primetime show, 9 o'clock from Eastern Time on YouTube Live. We'll talk all sports outside of football on Tuesday. We'll talk about wrestling, the fallout from WWE's Roadblock pay-per-view. Obviously, we'll talk about Monday Night Raw. We'll do some entertainment, box office report, all that good stuff on Tuesday. And our next edition of the Football Blitz will be this Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time here on YouTube Live. So make sure you join us for that as well. So that's our two shows for this week until Tuesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here on YouTube Live. I hope you have a great weekend and a great start to your week. Stay safe, have fun, enjoy, and we'll see you back here Tuesday night, December the 20th, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for our next show. Until then, have a good afternoon, everybody.